February 22nd, 1831. Today, a well-known Baptist preacher has just died, leaving this life behind and moving on into eternity. While almost the exact opposite of Spurgeon in preaching tone, Robert Hall was able to draw vast crowds with a very weak voice, all because of his intellect and deep ideas. While his intellect would prove to overcome his voice, there would be one thing, however, that would prove to overcome both, because Robert Hall would occasionally suffer severe mental breakdowns, resulting in him staying in asylums. This is the In History Show on the Semper Reformanda podcast. I'm your host, Cody Bockelkamp. The story of Robert Hall is an odd one. On one hand, you have one of the brightest intellects of his time committing himself to the reading and preaching of the Word and to the ministering of the people of God. On the other hand, it is that same intellect that would seemingly rebel, resulting in complete mental breakdowns and asylum stays. We normally, or really ever, don't associate the two together. But maybe, just maybe, it's because of how we view the pastorate, its qualifications, and the persons who fulfill the role. Why is it that a story like Robert Hall's is surprising to us? Why is it that your first reaction was likely the same as mine? Oh wow, really? It's because we as Christians avoid the topic of mental health. I would say yes, it is us Christians that more often than not are too uncomfortable and we just avoid talking about mental health. I can say that it's us because, unlike us, Scripture doesn't avoid the subject. We tend just to view those Scriptures through rose-colored glasses. Like Elijah after the spectacle of defeating the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. Like he didn't leave that amazing moment of God and sit under a broom tree and tell God, I have had enough, and then fall asleep under that tree. As Christians, we are so afraid to deal with the reality that our minds are not as they ought to be because of sin. That if Elijah were our pastor, or if Jeremiah, the author of Lamentations, who described God as a bear waiting to maul him, we are so afraid to deal with that sort of emotional and mental state that likely, if they were our pastor, there would be some gathering of people and some committee that would ask them to take a leave of absence and focus on themselves for a while. Would it surprise you to know that your pastor, has likely gone through these very moments? But unfortunately, he and his family have likely done so alone, because most couldn't stomach to hear it. Or would it surprise you if I told you that I am not okay? That I, the host of this very podcast, am struggling? Would that surprise you? If it does, why? It is because of this perception of pastoral perfectionism. We must call it what it is. It is a plague. This pastoral perfectionism is killing us. And it is robbing us of the goodness and mercy of God that is only experienced but in our darkest moments. A goodness and mercy that Robert Hall experienced, yet one that I fear we never will, because we are so afraid to admit that we are in the likes of Robert Hall, or of Elijah in his darkest moments, or of Jeremiah, a great prophet of God, who would write this: He pierced my kidneys with shafts from his quiver. I am the laughing stock of all my people, mocked by their songs all day long. He filled me with bitterness, satiated me with wormwood. He ground my teeth with gravel and made me cower in the dust. I have been deprived of my peace. I have forgotten what posterity is. And then I thought, my future is lost, as well as my hope from the Lord. Remember my affliction and my homelessness, the wormwood and the poison. I continually remember them and have become depressed. Yet, I call this to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's faithful love, we do not perish, for his mercies never end. This episode of the Semper Reformanda podcast was written and produced by me. Special thanks to Josh Koval for the music. Thanks. We'll see you next time.